That's Amy's.
Gee, this is.
Sweet. It was just sitting on the end. I didn't know
yeah.
if we came in or not yet.
Yours is already.
Thank you.
What service?
See. All right, hi, good to see you.
Oh, goodness.
Oh. Hey, Jen.
There's always reason to be nervous.
I think, yeah, we can do it.
So I thought.
But where is it?
Yeah, that I don't know. I didn't look at the thing yet, so that could be why I don't know.
It's set up for,
Let me try.
have Danielle adjust my screen.
What's up? See, you can be taught.
Yes,
Wonderful.
an old dog.
Learn something new every day, Dirk.
Dad used to say that.
Who did?
My dad,
Oh.
something new every day.
Did. April.
Has this been updated since, look, you'll be proud of me. I took the actual,
See, I told you.
I took it and I highlighted it.
There you go.
So why you, and
Dangerous.
you understand what this said? This is where this was changed.
Yeah, this is the one that I think I pulled up, Wikipedia that we were talking about on the call today.
Yeah.
Yep, so that's the one that they were like, yeah, right, and then, yep,
That-
Christine, you're all set with that stuff I
Is
sent you
that-
today.
yes.
He said. Let's remove that. What did they remove? I don't know. So it's confusing.
Right, because they talked about blocking, like, okay, well, what did you block prior to yesterday? A patchwork of Title IX obligations. Now, all schools, rest assured that they do not need to comply with new rules, which included expanded protections of LGBT. It's gone back.
Which is.
Which
Is this where it started? That's what doesn't make sense. This gives, expands who's protected, which
Right.
is everybody,
Right.
which is all right.
So they haven't adopted the new
That one, that's
language.
an old one.
Right.
We're going back to the 2020.
Yep, see.
This policy.
They can't. Thank you. Yes, okay, cool. Thank you.
Put my coat on. Cold in here?
Oh, man, it's 60 degrees outside. Oh, actually not.
This is the one that was just approved.
Oh, I can't wait.
It's the second.
If you can imagine it, okay. Is you-
Yeah. I said yes, part of it, 'cause I
Amy.
remember seeing it. when I
Amy,
went to the-
Whenever you guys are ready, I'm ready to go.
Yeah, because we don't have any individual lines.
Exactly.
Mike, we'll share.
Were you thinking the same thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I give.
So was Danielle.
See?
Sherry will show you.
No, I know that's the number,
You know,
but we're going back to
I
an
like
old
that Jonathan
version.
comes to every single.
This one was approved in February. We're going back to the version that was before this.
16,
Yeah, so I'm walking across. Park Road.
22, which is the
It's
other one.
on his way in.
This is
Same.
22. It's very similar. Okay, it's okay. We're good. Thank you.
You good?
You good?
Um,
Okay.
Sure, you're in it too, right? Presentation? Are you in the presentation? I'm just making sure it's the right one because I know we had a couple of versions.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Can I have everybody stand for the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call. Naisha? Mary Ann?
Here.
Scott?
I'm here.
Brian?
Here.
Dirk?
Here.
Danny? Here. Peter?
Here.
And I am here. May I have a motion and a second to approve the roll?
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Minutes of the previous meeting. May I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Communications. Does anyone have any communications to share?
Just, can I talk about a little article that was in the Buffalo News about our girls hockey team, the Cash team, Clarence Amherst Sweet Home? Got some recognition. They're all Federation Girls Hockey first team. I'm glad to see hockey still alive. Sweet Home. That's all I had. Thank you. I'll pass it around if you'd like.
Okay, unfinished business. We have none. Dr. Genestri, your turn.
Thank you, Mrs. Battaglia. A few updates for the board tonight, and I know we have, we know the budget is up for a vote tonight, so Mr. Feldman is going to take over in just a second. We wanted to talk a little bit about CBT testing, which starts tomorrow. Our capital construction update, we had a building use committee meeting today. The school calendar, which we reviewed last time, I left the notes up there in case there's any questions, and then a Memorial Day update. So before Don goes on, I know last week we talked a little bit about the psychologist position, and I just wanted to update the board on what we did between last meeting and this week to kind of take a look at that position. So overall staffing, we wanted to recommend basically everything the same, except we did have a long-term leave slash potential retirement in high school chemistry. And we would like to propose, we will be able to replace the chemistry teacher and reinstate the psychologist position without changing the budget. Obviously, we were on a balanced budget when we presented to you. We understood the need for the psychologist, and then we wanted to reinstate that, and that with chemistry kind of came into our lap and made the recommendation pretty simple to make. So we did update our staffing plan with that addition in there, but everything else would remain the same. And of course, you know, we closed the $1.5 million gap in doing so. Just a reminder, though, that other factors that could influence staffing throughout the summer, including registration and transfers. We know that August is a very big time at Central Registry, so we'll be monitoring those numbers quickly and thoroughly. Kindergarten registration, final improved New York State budget, no end in sight. We're going to be voting on a budget tonight, or you're going to be voting on a budget tonight that does not, we are unclear about what our state aid number is going to be, but we are mandated to move forward on that. And then, of course, what's happening at the federal level and federal funding. So we're going to continue to monitor this throughout the summer, but wanted to update you on that plan before asking Mr. Feldman to come on up.
I good?
You're good.
Okay,
Unless there's
excellent.
any questions.
Okay. We're presenting the budget for the fourth and final time tonight for your consideration and vote here shortly on our spending plan for the 25-26 school year. Just a couple of points here as we kind of go through this. These are up on the board here, some important dates relative to the budget timeline and the budget process. On Monday, that date is wrong. It should be April 21st, 2025. On Monday, it was the deadline to submit petitions for those interested in running for the school board. We do have 2 seats that will be available on May 20th. Those are the seats of Brian Leibel and Dirk Rabinold. We have presently, we will have 4 individuals running for 2 seats. They are Brian Leibel, Dirk Rabinold, Jonathan Makeley, and Alan Plath. So those 4 gentlemen will be running for 2 seats in the election on Tuesday, May 20th. The last date for the board to adopt the proposed budget, as Dr. Genestri had said, is actually Friday of this week. We are, again, as Dr. Genestri mentioned, proposing a budget with the uncertainty of the state budget. The state has, as many of you probably have seen over the break since we last met now 2 weeks ago, they've done a couple of and voted on a couple of extenders to keep the government afloat while this situation is kind of hashed out and they do get to a point where they'll actually vote to approve a state budget. So we have worked very hard to get to a point where we believe we're in a good place with our estimates for our state aid. We've done our homework to make sure that our foundation pupil unit number that we talked to you about last time is on par. So we anticipate our revenues from the state being pretty close to where we've estimated. So we feel pretty good about that. You'll also vote tonight on our property tax report card. That's just kind of a snapshot of budget to budget year, as well as our reserve levels and any reserve usage that we might have to close budgetary gaps. We have to submit that to the state office, the state controller's office by April 28th. And once you vote on that tonight, we'll certainly do that. We have a required public hearing on our proposed budget, which will be Tuesday, May 6th, here in Virgil's, where we'll present the budget in 3 parts, the administrative, capital, and program side of things. We'll also do our Meet the Candidate night that evening, where the 4 candidates will have an opportunity to read a statement and answer any questions. And then lastly, the budget vote and school board election will be here in this room on Tuesday, May 20th from 7 a.m. till 9 p.m. So this particular is Sweet Home. As I mentioned, this is the 4th and final time. So we're kind of down at the bottom of that, the second to last line, where we are doing our budget adoption on April the 22nd. And then we've gotten to a point where we've gone through and looked at every line item in the budget to make sure that we're true. We've looked at our revenue projections and things along those lines. Again, the only missing piece that we have now, and it's a large one, the only missing piece that we do have is the absence of a state approved budget from that standpoint. So next slide, please, Mike. So this is just kind of an update on revenues. This is an exact slide that I shared with you guys, the board last time. From a state aid standpoint, there are 4 major areas that do impact the revenue side of the budget. The first is state aid. There are no movement on state aid. We did present to you last time an update on BOCES aid and high excess cost aid that we did expect a little bit more expense-driven aids in those areas. So we've made those changes to the budget when we presented it to you last time. We did file our real property tax cap with the state in a timely fashion. Our final tax cap filed to New York State was 0.4% of an increase from this current school year to next, which translates to about a $218,000 increase in the overall levy from year to year. The third category, sales tax, we did get our 3rd quarter payment of sales tax in at just over $1.4 million. We're trending towards about $5.6 million in sales tax revenue for this current school year. And we have budgeted about $5.45 million in sales tax revenue for the 25-26 school year. And then the last area is the use of reserves. We have a number of reserves that are at our purview to be able to use to close any kind of potential budgetary gaps. And we have maintained our reserve usage consistent with what we did last year for a tune of $350,000 total in reserve usage. So on the revenue side of the house, we do have estimated revenues of $105,576,012. It's an increase of $5.165 million, or an increase of 5.1% year to year. This gives you an overall budgetary snapshot. On the revenue side, again, as I just mentioned, we have $105,576,012 in estimated revenues. Of that, the local tax levy, the local tax share would translate out to $54,486,662. That's the 0.4% that I mentioned as part of the tax cap increase. That goes right to the cap. That is our tax cap for this year, which means that in order for our budget to pass, we only need a simple majority. Had we gone over that cap, we would have needed a supermajority or 60%. But because we stayed within that tax cap, we only need the simple majority to pass from that standpoint. And then on the expenditure side of the house, again, 105, 576, and $12, a 5.1% increase, and we are presenting a balanced budget this evening. I did this the last time just to kind of give the board, as well as any folks that might be watching at home or in the audience, just kind of a closer look at some of our major budgetary increases. On the revenue side of the house, we talked about tax levy at $218,000 of an increase. Pilots or payments in lieu of taxes, we expect a $52,000 increase. Sales tax, a $350,000 increase. Interest from our investments and things along those lines, we do expect a $340,000 increase. We do expect to see an increase in BOCES rent over at North Towns of about $30,000. And then our state aid, including our foundation aid and all expense-driven aids, have an increase of $3.75 million. So that gets us to a subtotal of $4.74 million. And as we did mention to the board 2 weeks ago, we were fortunate enough to be awarded a UPK integrated class setting grant that we expect an additional $660,000 in revenue to help us close that budgetary gap. So overall increases in revenue, about $5.4 million. And then on the right-hand side, the columns there are the expenses that are pretty much mandated for either contractually or increases to other things such as tuition. Salary increases across all three of our service units, about $1.4 million from year to year. Utilities across the district, about $100,000 increase. Our work with BOCES, including special education BOCES, is about $502,000. Our liability insurance across the district is $75,000 increase. Charter school tuitions, $200,000. Special education in general, including out-of-district placements, $1.4 million. Our bus purchases, $147,000. Contracted transportation, $500,000, and employee benefits, just about $1 million. So you can see on the expense side, we're at $5.3 million in kind of major increases. This is kind of a snapshot of our proposed budget in terms of a tax rate impact to our community. We've done in the past kind of an average home at $150,000 assessment. I presented, if you've watched before, I've presented at $150,000, $250,000, and $350,000. This is the one in the middle. This is $250,000. I always do this. This is cautionary, but we are using the assessed values that we used when we set the tax rates for this year back in August. So our assessment values will change. We'll get those over the summertime, just prior to the board voting on tax rates for this coming year. The Amherst equalization rate remains at 100%. The Tonawanda equalization rate is at 23%. And this is going to the tax cap levy limit of $54,486,662. So for a home assessed at $250,000 in the town of Amherst, the tax rate would be $9.70 per thousand, or translate to a tax bill of $2,425, or an increase from year to year of $7. On the Tonawanda side, the assessed value, using the equalization rate, the assessed value of $57,500 translates to a tax rate of $42.39 per thousand, or a tax bill of $2,437, which is an increase of $9 on the Tonawanda side. Next slide, please, Mike. So in summary, on Tuesday, May the 20th, the board, or if the board does approve the budget tonight, we will be asking you to approve one proposition, the approval of the budget. Oh, that budget number is wrong. It should be 105. It should be 105,576,12. Sorry, on my error there. There we go. Which is a budgetary increase of 5.1%, tax levy increase of 0.4% over the current year. The second proposition will be to elect 2 Board of Education members. As we mentioned earlier, the terms of Mr. Leibel and Mr. Ravenold expire on June 30th, 2025. And the top 2 vote getters of the 4 gentlemen I mentioned earlier will receive a 5-year term that expires on June 30th, 2030. And again, voting happens here in Virgil's Tuesday, May 20th, 2025 from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. You can enter through door 6 in the front. We'll have chef will be here doing kind of a baked goods sale. We'll have the chicken barbecue. Kids will have some art here on the hallways for folks to see. Lastly, we'll also be voting on our proposed new Panther logo. So there'll be 2 sets of voting going on, one for the budget and one for our new Panther. You need to be 18 years of age to vote on the budget and live in the district for 30 days prior to May 20th.
How about to vote on the Panther?
You can be any age.
Students, faculty, staff, community members?
Yep.
Anybody?
Just need to be able to hold a pen.
Hold a pen. That's it.
Any questions? As in terms of the
I
budget?
just have one quick
Sure.
one. So this month, I was going through the special ed, 300 pages of it this month, and I'm always seeing add-ons of like special buses for the kids. Is that figured into all of this?
One of the things that we've struggled this year to kind of really estimate as best we can on really 2 areas. Number one, contracted transportation related to McKinney-Vento students, our homeless students, because we just don't know when they're coming. And the second is the sheer amount of influx of students with special education, special needs. So you saw that we've added a little over $1 million to our budget to help kind of mitigate some of those costs. One of the things that's beyond our control, when a student that comes to us that requires out-of-district placement, we don't have a say on the tuition that we pay to those agencies. So I feel as though that we're in a better place, and we've done a much better job to try and kind of get a handle on those costs. But we've had close to 50, 60 special education kiddos move into the district over the last year that have required some placement besides Sweet Home.
I have one question if I could.
Yep.
Don't fall over, but I think you've done a good job. I would call it holding the line on taxes to the taxpayer. I think that's terrific. The money that may come in the 4th quarter for sales tax, if that dollars come in higher than expected, where does that money go? And if the expenses aren't as great as you reserved for, where does that go? Back into the reserve?
So let me ask you, I'll answer your first question, and then I'll just ask a clarifying question on your second.
Okay.
So sales tax, we've budgeted, and don't quote me on this, I think this year we've budgeted in this school year, we budgeted $5.1 million in sales tax revenue.
Right.
If the numbers come in higher and we're at a surplus, that number would help go towards a potential fund balance at the end of the school year. Your question about expenses, help me understand that.
Looks like you have reserved 350,000.
Yeah. So if our expenses come in less than anticipated, and we don't need to utilize any reserves, that money would essentially stay in those reserves.
Stays in the reserves.
Yep.
So the money can't, again, it would be awful nice to get to a 0 increase to the taxpayer, But it can't happen once we vote on this, is that correct?
That's,
You've got to.
I mean, we could have a conversation about it, but yes, in short, yes. If you guys, if the board wanted to look at using the way that we use towards the end of next school year, using those reserves could help offset some of those costs, but essentially, we're going to collect taxes based upon that tax rate and tax levy once you vote on this.
Would you mind me using the phrase holding the line taxes this year?
Well, I think, we've done a good job. 2 years ago, we went out on a tax neutral budget, which means we didn't raise the levy. Last year, we did not go to the tax cap. In fact, we left a little over $1.4 million in tax cap allowance and return that essentially to the taxpayers because we didn't raise our taxes. And this year is a minimal, in my opinion, a minimal tax increase. I would say, if you wanted to use that terminology, I think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah, my concern in the long run is, we're fortunate to have you finding grants and some other monies that allow us to grow our overall budget by 5%. And really not burden the taxpayers. But I still get this sense at some point, that chickens are going to come home to roost.
Listen, Mr. Avenel, I don't disagree with you at all. The prospect of the federal funding piece of it with the current administration, we showed slides before where we have $3.5 million tied up in federal funds, 2.1 of it of those 3.5 million in salaries. If those things went away, it would be a far different conversation.
Yeah.
So we're doing our very best to maintain, it's been the goal of the board, to maintain programming inside of the budget and be as fiscally responsible as we can. And I believe this budget does that.
Very good.
I think it's important to note that some of that increase is state funding because of the increase in the number of students we have too, plus the special needs students too, because we get a higher dollar amount for them when they come in.
That's correct.
I understand. Okay.
Any other questions at all?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We also start computer-based testing, New York State testing in 3 through 8 this week. I asked Dr. Wilson just to give a brief update to the board on where we are with CBT and recognizing that this is kind of the very busy weeks coming up for Sweet Home.
Busy indeed. So computer-based testing is kicking off tomorrow. This is year 2 of us being all in on computer-based testing. We have been doing computer-based testing now for grades 3 through 8 for the last couple of years. The integration work continues. A lot of emphasis on integrating instructional technology into everyday instruction to support our students across the board. Because you can see there's 3 main areas here that New York State requires in testing, but we have other platforms that we use that also these skills would be skills that students would be able to apply to. Computer-based testing window kicks off tomorrow with ELA, and then going on to math, May 5th, and then on to science. So it is no longer just the strict couple of days that you might have remembered from the past. The state opens up a large window that covers a span of about a month and a half or so for us to get through all of this testing. When it's all said and done, the second half of April, going into most of May, each school will have participated in about 5 days of testing, 2 for ELA, 2 for math, 1 for science. There's a proactive plan to address the statewide issues. I'm not sure if you've heard. Yes, there was quite the testing for the whole state started off the week prior to break. We elected to start our testing after break. That was already something that we had done. And with all of the issues, everything was shutting down. New York State did chime in and let us know that it was not a local school district issue or a state issue. It was the company that that the state actually contracts with, NWEA, that administers the test. We believe that as we went into break, they found the problem. So we are thinking that we are in good shape for tomorrow. But if we have a proactive plan to address if those issues continue. We've been watching very closely today to hear of any districts who might have had issues. And we have a plan to help reduce frustration if there is that kind of a breakdown. It's beyond anybody's control. But we have really good folks at all of our schools that are organized into tech teams. And really all the structural, support is in place, from styluses to all the exams being packed up, ready to go. As you can imagine, it's a pretty big operation. And we had a big simulation assessment that we did back in January. We did the same thing last year. This helped to inform us, give us feedback as to things we could do to be ready, the feedback that we needed from teachers, the feedback from students. And so we are feeling really good rolling into the first day of testing with ELA tomorrow.
Dr. Wilson,
Yep.
do you have some sort of communication group that you're with that if they start having issues that are from the company, you can, Don Shakin said yesterday,
Yes.
you can find out
Yes.
right away?
Yes, BOCES is working with us. They are a big support for us connecting back to the state. And so there is a system set up so that they can let us know if we're communicating with them, they can let us know whether it's a state issue or for something locally. So that is all set up. Plus we have our own internal plan for each school. We met with the principals today, Dr. Kozakowski. Before the break, we brainstormed some different things we could do to be ready. And then we made sure we met with all the principals so that they know what to do if there is anything that stops us from being able to get on.
Thank you.
Is this an opt-out test or?
This is one of those exams that you will see refusals, and we were concerned last year with us jumping into our first year of computer-based testing that we might have an increase when we actually had a decrease. So a decrease in ELA and a slight decrease in math. But we're looking forward to another decrease because now people have 1 year under their belt. They feel much more comfortable. We have been adopting curriculum that supports the computer-based focus. So like our new math curriculum, there's many components of that lends itself to instructional technologies. And so we feel like we're in a good place.
Thank you.
And I don't know if everybody got this particular email, but I did receive an email from the middle school letting faculty know that they're going to do a staggered login so that hopefully we can avoid some of the issue.
Yeah, that was part of the plan, having one grade level go in first. If we see that it's an issue, we're not going to have the others go in and just increase the level of frustration. We look at everybody halting and shifting at that point.
Good plan.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson. Wanted to update the board that we had a building use committee meeting this afternoon. We are at a point where we called in the architects, construction managers, and our financial planner today to discuss where we are with scope and finances of the next project. We are in a place where we have to look at a few areas because of cost and the possibility of actually proposing based on the recommendation of the Building Use Committee and where they are at, possible 2 propositions, which we'll get into more detail because we're going to invite everybody back. And we would like to present to the board probably in June or July on where we are. But we're hoping Proposition 1, our goal is to make it tax neutral. And then Proposition 2 would address some needs at the athletic facility at the high school. More information on that to come if that's the route that the committee wants to take moving forward with the board. But the plan so far addresses spacing needs at the elementary buildings, addresses need for renovations at the elementary building, addresses needs identified that have been red flagged in the building condition survey. We're discussing ways to better utilize the high school athletic fields so more contests can be played at the same time. And we're reviewing our financials again to have minimal impact on our taxpayers. So we're going to meet again as a building use committee, I think in about a week or 2 to kind of debrief on what we learned tonight, and then bring those questions to the team of architects, construction managers, financial planners, and then prepare for a board presentation, I would say hopefully before the end of the school year. Any questions on District Calendar Committee, I left this on here, but we know that you were presented this information at our last board meeting. Thankful again to the members of the Calendar Committee for all of their work in providing input on where we go. We align closely with the BOCES calendar. This calendar we're presenting to you follows New York State education guidelines and regulations in terms of days and hours. It incorporates New York State assessments and Regents exams, legal holidays, contractual language. The BOCES calendar, like I said, we follow closely the potential for emergency closures and of course, stakeholder feedback. You know, the holidays, the legal holidays that are on there, they're all incorporated in there as well. Some big dates that we discussed last week, including the August 28th staff development opening virtual day. First student day would be September 2nd of the 25-26 school year. And then the rating day would be the 26th. Depending on if we use all of our emergency days or not, we're proposing June 29th as the last day for teachers. But if we have days left over, we would use that day in cooperation with the teachers union. We would use that day as the free day instead of the Memorial Day weekend. So it meets all the guidelines and regulations, like we said. And it is posted here for your review.
Dr. Shastri,
Yes.
they added last time that lunar holiday. Are there any on the? 'Cause
There's
it just
always,
seems like
yeah, there's always a few more being proposed. And we'll see if this budget passes anytime soon, if they
Add
go
some
through.
of them.
Yeah,
They'll be voting for the seventh extender tomorrow.
Yes.
extender, yes.
But if they
With no end in
did come
sight.
up with something,
Hopefully, they would not do it for next year, and that they would give us time knowing that our calendar has been, approved.
Hopefully.
yeah.
Yeah, if not, we would have to come and amend it. As Mr. Feldman mentioned, these are our concepts for the final Panther logo that will be voted on by our community on May 20th. They will be unveiled to the board at our next meeting, May 6th, I believe. So we have taken this concept, we're working with 26 shirts. They're developing them into logos that could be used here at Sweet Home. They're working with our students our students will be taking a field trip to 26 shirts. They're providing their input on the final concepts. We'll be ready at the May 6th meeting to show them to you. And they're also going to be published in the Sweet Home Source magazine that will go out. Obviously, we're voting on the budget tonight. You're voting on the budget tonight. So we're almost at a wrap stage with the Sweet Home Source. So our community can see them in newsletter format as well. So we're excited. May 20th, we hope to get a big turnout. So everybody has a voice in what our logo is going to be. And then just a reminder, it's nice and sunny and potentially warmer out today. As the days get closer to summer, the chances of us using another emergency day get slimmer and slimmer. So if we do not use another emergency day between now and April 30th, the Memorial Day weekend will be extended, and Friday, May 23rd will be a day off for the district.
So we will announce that officially at the next meeting.
At May 1st. May 1st, I'll send out a note to everybody to say
Perfect.
it's official. And that's what I have for tonight, unless there's any questions. Thank you.
Great. Upcoming events. We have a couple of meetings coming up, district-wide and individual building meetings. Our next board meeting is on the 6th. Open session per policy 1510. This open session is for topics related to tonight's agenda. Is anybody interested in speaking? Do you need me to read the policy?
Good evening, Paul Simondera, Shea, president, faculty member at the high school. Just a quick comment on the budget. I don't envy the position that our entire school community is in trying to make decisions, in balancing and making decisions, this versus that, so to speak. But I have to be able to say how disappointing it is on the night that you're voting for something is the night that we're also learning about a cut to the science department at the high school. At the last meeting, there was an impassioned number of people speaking on behalf of the needs for supporting our psychologists at the high school and the services to the kids and what's really entailed in that. So perhaps that's a good thing that our board has a greater vision of understanding of what various supports might be. But on behalf of the number of texts I've received just tonight, realizing that we are now cutting a science position.
We're not cutting the science position. We're replacing the science position and adding the psychologist. There's no cut.
There's no cut to the long-term substitute. Well, I guess I must be misreading.
I'm sorry.
The slide
Yeah.
you have, it presents itself that the position at the high school is now being flopped out for the psychologist
No.
position.
No,
The,
we're
the
bringing-
slide reads, due to a long-term leave retirement in high school chemistry, replace chemistry teacher and reinstate the psychologist position.
Thank you very much for your time. Your support,
Yeah, yeah,
as
yeah.
always. My mistake. Thank you.
Anybody else? Just the agenda. Go ahead.
My name's Peter Hoysick. I live in Millwood Drive in the town of Tonawanda. I brought this up before when I've come to other meetings, so we're adding another $5 million to the school budget. It just kind of amazes me that this budget keeps going up. I lived in this school district since 2000, and my school taxes have gone up 400%. And now they're going to go up again. That's my first comment. Secondly, I've also been here previously discussing how are you going to prevent illegals from voting? When this slide was up there that mentioned about the budget vote coming up on May 20th, you said they had to be 18 years old and you have to live in a district for 30 days. That's not my understanding of what you need to have to vote. What are we going to do to prevent illegals from voting? I still haven't got an answer from this. I asked this question last time too. I still don't have an answer to this. That's it. Unless you want to respond. That's what I
No, we
thought.
can't respond. Thank you for your comments. Anybody else? No, we can't respond, Dirk.
I know, but isn't there something posted on the website about the requirements to vote?
Yes.
Does it include a driver's license? Some form of ID?
Yes.
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 You should have to prove your residence. Doesn't,
No.
it proves residency.
Yes, you have to prove resident.
Right.
Yes.
So, okay.
Yep.
Thank you. No. I can't have a conversation with you. I'm sorry.
Okay, moving on to new business. May I have a motion and a second to approve consent agenda on items A through L?
So moved. Second.
I understand we discussed these last week, so all in favor?
Oh.
Or 2 weeks ago?
We typically
Go through each
go
one.
through them,
Yeah.
just
why
to
don't
be sure there's no discussion.
If you wouldn't mind, please.
Okay, letter A is the budget adoption. B is the special ed class placements and preschool class placements.
And I'd be remiss if I again didn't make note of our amazing people that go into all the work for the IEPs and the 504s and the evaluations. We had 300 pages of annual reviews, still having kids come in from other districts, transferring in. Just our people do such a good job. Our counselors, our speech pathologists, OT, PT, a lot goes into these IEPs, and it just amazes me how much effort and detail goes into these. So again, I want to thank for all that effort.
Okay.
C is our monthly financials. Also very detail oriented. Bids for policy 5410 is item D. We have office supplies, athletic uniforms, art supplies. Comments or questions? E would be the district vote for the chief election inspector and the inspectors of the election. F is the Erie One BOCES budget. And the three board members running for their seats.
I've got a question on that. Maybe Scott would have the answer. Mark Mecca is Williamsville, correct? Is there already a Williamsville person on the BOCES board, or did that?
Mark is the
Mark, yeah,
current,
it's Mark, yeah.
Mark is the current Williamsville.
Okay,
Right.
but who was prior? Okay, I thought there was still another Williamsville person.
No, Mark replaced
Oh, that was last year.
3 years ago.
Yeah, it would have been 3 years ago.
3
I
years
don't
ago.
remember who it was. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
all right. I'm just trying to catch up on that. And there's 3 seats because somebody else dropped out?
No, there's 3 every year. They have 3-year terms and 9 board members.
Oh,
So they take 3 out, 3 of them go every year.
okay. Thank you. I forgot.
That's okay.
Thanks. All
Mhm.
right, I'm okay with it.
G would be revised policy, second readings for 3 of our policies.
I had a couple questions on 7554, and I've spent some time researching the Texas decision and the current default back to what it was in 2020. And it doesn't look like it changed at all. So I'm not sure what we're really voting on there. I'm okay with it because it primarily says we don't discriminate against anybody and anything, basically.
Yeah,
So
there had been changes that had bbeen planned to be made, and then BOCES Policy Service sent us these saying, take them back based on where the new administration is coming through things.
What the administration has, I guess, ruled on or executive order. Okay, okay. I'm all right with it. Thank you.
Okay, next is the district calendars, the attendance calendar, the payroll calendar, the holiday calendar. I is the acceptance of donations. We have 4. J is a SECRA outlay project. K is the BOCES Dexter Terrace and Sweet Home contract. L would be disposal of obsolete property. I think I only saw 1 item in there.
Was that a
We
mixer?
added another one today. There was a mixer
Yeah.
and a microwave.
Oh, I missed the microwave.
I missed the microwave.
The other day.
It's a good thing I don't need
Unfortunate,
one.
microwave died in transportation, so.
Yeah.
Replace it.
Time to go.
Say again?
They need a new one? 'Cause
We've it's been taken
I got one in my
care
basement, yeah.
They can have my microphone.
of. We have to have our bus drivers have their cups of coffee warmed up, so it's good.
Any more comments or questions on A through L? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? All righty, that brings us to informational items. Maisha, would you like to start?
Yeah, to begin, on April 2nd, student government successfully hosted our highly anticipated movie night. We had a great turnout of around 170 students who came to watch the movie, and then more than 35 volunteers who helped make sure the event runs smoothly, helped set up and hand out all the snacks, organize our decor donated from AMC, clean up all the popcorn left over in the auditorium. We appreciate and want to give a big thank you to Ms. DePasquale, Mrs. Bruce, Mrs. Utzik, Mrs. Reed, and Mr. Padmanabha for all their help, from making big balloon arches and photo booths to managing the sound system in the auditorium. Looking ahead, student government is looking to make an initiative to introduce outside lunching for all students starting next month when we hopefully have consistent good weather. We're aware this has been done previously at the high school, and we're currently working on a finalized, new, and more well-thought-out proposal that not only evaluates the benefits and the challenges, but also outlines a clear path to ensure the experience would be safe, inclusive, and enjoyable for everyone. And our goal is to submit that proposal to administration by the end of this week for review and feedback, and then we aim to implement it to have something that's both familiar and improved. Lastly, before the break, students from the Student Act team participated in the annual Challenge to Change event at ECC. Students were able to meet with student leaders from other school boards, learn how to discuss concerns related to race and social justice, participate in breakout sessions, and appreciate and understand how to break down barriers that separate us as a community. The Leadership Summit with students from all over the schools will be on May 30th at Ben Chetty's by Rizzo, which is also the same day as our final Connect Life blood drive for this year. And also, the new gowns, caps and gowns came in, and there's been a lot of positive feedback from the students, and they especially like the new tassels.
Nice.
Thank you.
So,
And thank you for the popcorn that you distributed to district office. It was delicious. We appreciate it.
The garbage. Yeah.
Okay. I went over to Heritage to watch the Frog and Toad. I don't know if anybody else got over there, but it was just so cute. The kids is just, it's an extravaganza and it was just so cute. Next, I went over for the Amherst Diversity Committee over at the, the library this time. Sweet Home and Williamsville, Sweet Home represented by Dr. Genestri, talked about building a strong school community. And, for us, there's some certain times like graduation, so proud, when we see these kids coming around, so proud. This for me was one of those moments. Dr. Genestri just represented our district so very well and really got to point out what Sweet Home is. So I just wanted to tell you, just a phenomenal job. It was a good turnout too for the first time.
It was fun.
Health and safety, crisis response plan, added to district safety plan. They're going over that. How to respond to a traumatic event. We actually need a formal plan is what talked about. And what role everybody will take in that. So that's still being worked on. We talked about my favorite, lead and water testing. And I'm sure I'm going to mess some of these numbers up, but I know the threshold has been changed, correct?
Correct.
So there were some ones that we needed to work on, and they're posted on the website. And how long do we have? I didn't ask that question.
To remediate,
Remediate.
there's not really a timeline as far as that goes. We are in the process of remediating now. We did retest some of the outlets at Willow Ridge, and they've all come back as good from that standpoint. But they did, the Department of Health lowered the threshold of parts per billion, lead parts per billion from 15 parts per billion to 5. And many of our failures this time around fell in that 5 to 15 range, which would have been sufficient the last time we tested.
Okay.
and the federal number is 20.
The federal number is 20, that's
Yes.
correct.
Yeah. Oh, you took that down too.
Yep, I was right
Okay.
into it, yeah.
I got that one too. And just for like the future board meetings, I just was interested now as I'm again reading through the special ed, what our summer school is going to look like. So in your next presentation next month, if you
Put it
could
on
talk about that,
Yep.
as well as what we're doing as far as food distribution for our families for the summer.
Absolutely.
And if there's any chance we could feed everybody during this.
We are on it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else?
Nope, go ahead.
Scott?
Just a couple quick things. And I'm way behind on the list from the past several months, and I apologize for that, but I just want to touch on one in particular. Last week I attended the BOCES Twist on Tech Night. They've been doing this for the last handful of years, and they've been rotating through the Erie One BOCES facilities. And this one was at Harkness, and what they did was they set up 4 of the areas. They bring students and staff in to explain things, and we got to go through 3. We also got fed very well, which was nice to beginning and end on. But I was in the electronics and applied technologies area first, and they were talking about the things they do with kids, and it's basic electricity theory, but then working on things. In a lot of cases, they were bringing projects from home. They had an LED TV that they actually took the TV apart and replaced the LEDs on it so the TV would work again. They were rewiring a golf cart. I mean, this thing you want to drive on the road, the white time they're down with it, but anyway, but a lot of projects like that, they're working on their own stuff and learning how to move forward with it. Then I went into an animal science one. It's juniors and they're learning about animal care. There's a handful of different things. They might go to vet tech programs among others. It's pretty fascinating because they had quite a few animals. I got to hold a ferret, which I've never held before in my life, along with a Russian tortoise who had very sharp claws. And then the final one was aviation technology. And mind you, Harkness is right back at the airport. They have a handful of flying simulators there for actual flying. And they're working with the kids so that they're working on one, but they're actually flying plane all over the country in simulations, and they're changing off every 2 hours to keep going on this. It was pretty fascinating to see how they do it. I actually got to go on one of the simpler simulators, which still had 3 screens. And this was supposed to be like a Piper Cub-sized plane, and it's still the number of things that were in front of me was scary. I did get it on the ground at the Niagara Falls Airport without crashing, but I was going this way, the runway went that way. But it was on the ground. The other one is a personal note. I've talked to my colleagues here at the board, some of my friends know. I've had prostate cancer now. I was diagnosed first 6 years ago, and just earlier this year, I went through treatment on it. I've completed my treatment. I rang the bell. I'm waiting to find out if there's any other issues with it. What I want to say for any men who are listening to this, get your PSA tested on a regular basis. Any women, get your men to get out there and test their PSAs. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lible?
Well, first of all, Scott, congratulations on ringing the bell. I know it's always nice to hear if you happen to be there. And usually every day, if you're there, you do hear that bell ring, and it's, a lot of clapping, and it shows the good work and the hard effort of the doctors and the patients and their family and support around them. A couple of activities over the last month I just want to mention. I believe I mentioned this last time, but Willow Ridge Multicultural Night, that was in March. But then Willow Ridge also had a science night. This is the PTA on the 4th of April. And then the middle school, which my family and I attended, had a multicultural night on the 8th. And I just am bringing that up because the kids have a great time. But it's a lot of work for the PTAs and the PTSAs, and there's students, there's parents, there's faculty. But they all came together. The kids had a great time, and it's nice to see a lot of that. There's a lot of extra effort in these extra activities that go well beyond what we're doing here in the classroom. So congratulations to all of them. I also wanted to mention I attended the Athletic Council, which we briefly mentioned here, in terms of potentially bringing forth some proposals. So that's, I think, going to be some exciting work that'll be unveiled over the next, few months and beyond that, as to what not only the Building Use Committee is bringing forth, but the Athletic Committee looking at that in terms of how do we bring in more of our younger athletes at an earlier stage? How do we engage the communities and other of these youth sports so that we can connect with young athletes at an earlier age and recognize the talent, and connect with the athletes. I had a chance to attend one of the practices for the girls lacrosse team. It was the first week of practice, but it was freezing that week. So, I mean, even when it's cold, this was like probably high 30s, but kids are out there every day practicing.
Been there yesterday. They were out there in the monsoons.
And I appreciate also, I think, that they, the cheers and the different things that they do to bring the team together. My daughters happen to be with me, and they included them in that as well. And it's just nice to see the camaraderie and the teamwork. And that team, I don't know if people recognize this, but it's moved up in a division. So it's going to be, they did so well in the past that this year they're actually playing in a tougher division. There was an article in the Amherst Bee. It was nice to see that they got recognition for, just moving up again in that tougher division. So, it's an accomplishment for them, but obviously a tougher season ahead.
Big game tomorrow.
That's it on my end.
Thank you. Dirk?
Sure. I was able to attend the Heritage Heights PTA meeting back, seems like a while ago. It was their meeting to roll over their leadership for next year. It looks like most of them are going to stay in place except for the leader. She'll be moving on to the middle school. Nice group of people. They talked about their STEM night, their multicultural night, and Friendship Day on the bouncy houses. Sounds like all these things go very well. Again, a very good group of parents and people that participate in all this stuff. You talked about things coming in May and June. May 16th, author Doogie Horner is coming. He apparently wrote a book called The Invisible Boy. June 24th is their Friendship Day. Today, by the way, was, they call it a Hospitality Day, Bus Driver Day. Tomorrow is Secretary Day, Principal Day on the 1st of May, Lunch Hero Day on the 2nd, Nurse Day on the 7th.
Oh, I like that one.
And then May 5th through the 9th, they get a whole week, I guess, Teacher Appreciation Week, which again, good group of people. So I did get an email requesting whether or not I'd like to attend a presentation of a movie called We Will Dance Again. And I originally signed up for it, but I'm going to be out of town a day earlier than I thought. So if you would express my, I'm sorry I can't make it. So I saw the trailer. It's very moving. And I know we all support, that stuff. So that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. Danny?
All right, so I had my first babysitter in 9 years, and you know what I did? I went to the Glendale PTA meeting, which was great. It was great to actually be able to be there with everyone in person. They had a great STEM night and a great McTeacher night where they raised a whole bunch of money, which is awesome. Upcoming events at Glendale would be flower sale, and they've got fun run. I'm fairly certain leadership days are also coming to all of the elementary schools. So if you are listening out there and you get the opportunity to attend a leadership day at an elementary school, it is magical, and those kids are just so excited to show you everything. So I'd encourage attendance for that if you're able. Dirk mentioned it already, that Teacher Appreciation Week is May 5th through the 9th. So this is my Super Bowl. This is like my favorite time of the year to just spoil the heck out of my kids' teachers because I appreciate them so much. So each school does different events each day for teacher appreciation. So if you're able to participate in any of those just to show some love to our teachers, I would encourage you to do that as well. Willow Ridge actually has a flower sale, which I think ends May 7th. They sent out an email where you can, buy a voucher to Lavacots. And if you've never been there before, that place is awesome. So you get your voucher and you go and you pick out all your plants, and then Willow Ridge gets a percentage of the money for their community garden. So it's a great fundraiser, and it is just so much fun to go and wander around the greenhouse and pick up flowers. The last thing I have here on my list is a question for Mr. Ryan at Maplemere, because state assessments are coming. Did you do a music video with a dance this year to hype the kids up? Because I'm not on social media anymore, so I didn't get to see it if you did. Friday, excellent. I love that.
He's rubbing his legs right now.
Could you make sure we all get a copy? Mr. Ryan, could you make sure we all get a video of that? Thank you.
You can
Excellent.
make it part of the superintendent report.
I like that.
Could you make sure that gets to us? Thank you. Anything else?
That's it.
All right, Peter?
So at the end of March, Scott and I were at the ECASB legislative team meeting. I forgot that was after our last meeting, so.
Me too.
The biggest topic was ECASB's stance on the cell phone. And where the governor was and legislative was going with that. We did cancel the May dinner with legislators, so we're working on our next year's schedule. So with Brian, I was at the athletic council meeting. He talked about that. And then last week I was in Myrtle Beach with the baseball team for spring training. So
We saw
they went
pictures. Nice.
3-1-1, did very well down there. Played a lot of upstate New York teams, one team from the Poughkeepsie area, a team from Elmira, a team from Rochester, and then Fredonia and St. Joe's. So just so happened to be the week that we were there were a lot of New York State teams there. So
How'd the kids do?
they did well. They went 3-1-1, so they played very well. Back to regular season tomorrow. So that's all I got.
I had the high school PTSA meeting last week, not last week, 2 weeks ago, I think. I attended virtually. They are in good shape. They are getting ready to select the scholarship winners for their scholarships that they have. But they are doing very good in all of their endeavors. I want to say thank you to my colleagues for their support over the last 6 months. And that's it. So on to our next section, open session. Would anybody like to address the board? You have 3 minutes. You can speak on any topic. Please state your name, address, and relationship to Sweet Home.
Hello, my name is Jonathan Makeley. I live at 5 Durham Drive. I'm a community member within the district. And I had a few things I would like to speak on. First off, I'm glad to hear that we were able to find a way to be able to maintain the psychologist position for the coming year, since having a psychologist and support for students is rather important. And secondly, I wanted to speak a bit on some matters regarding to busing. In the last meeting, we managed to have some good updates in terms of the changes for walking radius and mentions of plans for bus aids on the buses. Although, from communications, conversations had with parents and other community members, there seems to be still some concerns that people have, particularly in regards to the middle school busing, about possibilities of congestion with vehicles at the middle school, about concerns about plans for maintaining safety on the buses, beyond just the aids. And hopefully, as planning progresses, more information will come out. Things will progress to be able to address the concerns of community members. And that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thanks, Jonathan. Anybody else?
Again, my name is Peter Hoysick and I live on Millwood Drive in the district. Brought this topic up previously too. I asked why the superintendent hasn't been fired yet, and I gave a list of reasons. And unfortunately, those reasons are growing. Again, on social media, this school district is being criticized for discipline problems. This time it's at the high school. So again, I don't understand why things keep getting worse and he's still here. I assume that we're going to hold people accountable eventually on the Board of Education for not doing anything about this. Next, last year I came because in my mailbox I found a publication describing what was going to be voted on at the school budget vote, the day of the vote. I hope that's going to be rectified and it's going to be on time this year so that the residents find out with enough time to do something about coming here and voting. And anybody know what the status of that is? Yeah, all right. It was mentioned earlier in the meeting that the amount of federal aid to the school district is unknown. Does that have anything to do with the fact that you're being directed to drop all your DEI policies, and have you dropped them? I guess I looked online and it didn't look like anything changed. So I guess you're just going to write that money off, huh? Electric buses. Last time I was here, I was told that you were going to still buy 3 electric buses, maybe. Has that changed? We have any electric buses? We do. And how are you paying for the millions of dollars in infrastructure improvements that had to be done to pull that off that you did not tell the residents about? All right, you're not going to answer. Okay, and as far as non-citizens voting, just because you get a driver's license doesn't mean you can vote. They give non-citizens voting driver's licenses all the time. And I'll tell you another thing. To get that driver's license, New York State gives the applicant a fake last 4 social security number that they could actually use to register to vote right there on the spot on their application form. But it's a federal offense. However, there is a web page on the DMV's website that once you get that last 4 digits of your social security number and you got your license number, you can register to vote. You can even change the address so it doesn't match the address on your driver's license at the time you applied for it. And you can apply for absentee ballots. What happens then? I don't know. I'm just asking you as a board and as a superintendent, what you're doing to prevent non-citizens from voting. That's it.
Thank you so much. Anybody else? Okay. That brings us to personnel. May I have a motion and a second on personnel items 1 and 2, teaching and administrative and service.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I,
That brings us to the end of the meeting. May I have a motion and a second to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hey.
Thank you for all for coming and have a good night.
Done.
Yikes. We need to change Albany. We need to change Albany. Even licenses.